What if you knew how to develop a skill? Most people think skill is a mystery. They think some people are born with it, some people are not, and the rest is fate. But what if skill is not a gift to discover? What if it is a process to understand? Because once you understand the process, something changes. You stop looking at musicians, athletes, programmers, artists, speakers, and craftsmen as if they belong to another species. You start seeing the same pattern behind all of them. Repetition, feedback, friction, adaptation, time, and that changes everything. Scientifically, skill is not magic. It is the brain and body reorganizing themselves through directed effort. Neural pathways become more efficient, movements become more precise, perception becomes sharper, decisions become faster. What once felt chaotic starts to feel structured. What once demanded total attention begins to happen with less conscious effort. In other words, practice does not just make you better. Practice changes the system that is doing the work. This is why the beginning feels so brutal. At the start, everything is expensive. Every movement is clumsy. Every decision is slow. Every mistake feels personal. You are not just performing badly, you are building the map while trying to walk through the territory. The interface is unfamiliar. The signals are noisy. Your brain has not yet built the filters that separate what matters from what does not. That is why early learning feels like confusion, not progress. But this is also where one of the most useful modern ideas about learning appears. The first 20 hours matter far more than most people realize. Not because 20 hours makes you a master, it does not. But around that point, in many practical skills, you often get past the phase where everything feels impossible. You stop being completely lost. You begin to feel the shape of the thing. You can participate, you can play a song badly, hold a conversation badly, code a simple project badly, draw something recognizable badly. And that matters, because the greatest barrier to skill is often not difficulty. It is emotional resistance before visible progress appears. The hard part is not mastery. The hard part is surviving long enough to become functional. That changes the way effort should be understood. Many people imagine skill as one giant wall. In reality, it is more like a series of thresholds. The first threshold is awkward contact. The second is basic control. The third is reliable competence. Then comes refinement. Then comes fluency. Then comes depth. Then, much later, excellence, so unusual that other people call it talent. This is where another powerful idea enters. Small daily practice looks weak, but it is not weak. 16 minutes a day sounds almost insulting in a culture obsessed with extreme productivity. But over a year, that becomes nearly 100 focused hours. And 100 hours is not nothing. 100 hours is enough to become clearly better than the vast majority of people who only consume, admire, postpone, and fantasize. It is enough to build a real relationship with a skill. That is the hidden force of consistency. A skill does not ask for your intensity first. It asks for your return. It asks whether you will come back tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Not perfectly, not heroically, just repeatedly. Because repetition is not a boring detail. Repetition is the mechanism. When you repeat with attention, the brain starts compressing complexity. Patterns that once looked random start becoming familiar. You no longer see 1,000 disconnected details. You see chunks, structure, rhythm, priority. The experienced guitarist does not see separate finger placements the way a beginner does. The trained editor does not see scattered clips, but timing and emotional flow. The skilled speaker does not hear isolated words, but cadence, emphasis, and audience energy. Skill changes perception before it changes performance. That is why progress often feels invisible from inside. Your brain is upgrading the operating system while you are still staring at the loading screen. And this also explains why people misunderstand the famous 10,000-hour idea. It became popular as if there were a magic number that turns a human into a master. But that is not really the useful lesson. The useful lesson is that world-class performance usually requires an enormous amount of high-quality, intentional practice. Not random repetition, not mere exposure, not time spent pretending. Deliberate improvement. The number became famous, but the principle matters more than the number. Because long before 10,000 hours, a person can already become very good. Long before world-class, there is excellent. And long before excellent, there is valuable. That is important because many people reject a skill simply because they cannot imagine becoming elite. But elite is not the only meaningful destination. If you practice 16 minutes a day for a year, you are near 100 hours. If you average 1 hour a day, you are around 365 hours in a year. At 2 hours a day, you move past 700 hours. At 3 hours a day, you cross 1,000 hours in about a year. For many real-world skills, 1,000 serious hours does not make you the best on earth, but it can make you undeniably strong, useful, respectable, capable. In some domains, that already places you at a level most people never reach. So the path becomes clearer. The first 20 hours help you stop drowning. The first 100 hours make the skill real. A few hundred hours build confidence and reliability. Around 1,000 focused hours, many people reach a level that others describe as impressive. And somewhere much farther out, in the territory of thousands upon thousands of deeply structured hours, elite mastery begins to emerge. Seen this way, skill is not a wall, it is a staircase, and each step changes identity. At first, you are someone trying a thing, then you are someone learning a thing, then you are someone who can do a thing. Then, almost without noticing, the thing becomes part of you. This identity shift may be the most overlooked part of skill development. Practice is not only training performance, it is training self-concept. Every return vote says the same sentence: I am the kind of person who comes back. That matters because motivation is unstable, emotion is unstable, confidence is unstable, but identity can become stable. Once a person stops negotiating with the skill and starts organizing life around it, progress accelerates. Not because life becomes easier, because resistance becomes less persuasive. And there is another implication. Learning one skill teaches something even more powerful than the skill itself. It teaches the structure of learning. Once you have truly built one ability from near zero to real competence, you stop worshiping difficulty. You recognize the stages. You expect the ugly beginning. You know confusion is part of the process, not evidence of incapacity. You understand that the plateau is not failure, but consolidation. You become less dramatic, more strategic, more patient, more dangerous. Because then you are no longer just a person with one skill. You are a person who knows how skills are built. If that is true, then the implications are profound. Talent becomes less mystical and more observable. Confidence becomes something earned, not wished for. Fear of starting loses some of its power because you know the early pain is normal. Tiny daily effort stops looking weak and starts looking mathematical. And psychologically, your life changes because you no longer need every attempt to feel good in order to continue. You trust the process enough to keep moving before the reward arrives. That may be the deepest shift of all. Most people wait to feel capable before they begin. But skill is what makes you feel capable, not before, after. So maybe the real secret is not that masters are different from everyone else. Maybe it is that they stayed through the phase everyone else misinterpreted. The awkward phase, the embarrassing phase, the slow phase. The phase where nothing seems to prove that effort is working. If you can understand that phase, survive that phase, and return through that phase, then skill stops being mysterious. It becomes a method, a map, a system of transformation hidden inside repetition. And if that is true, then the question is no longer whether you have talent. The question is whether you are willing to stay long enough to let structure replace chaos. Because once you learn how to build a skill, you may never see human potential the same way again. Lucid order. Question everything.